Christopher James back here with Taylor Reed
Hey.
in Branson, Missouri. And you've had a lot of luck with reality shows. That's kind of changed some things for you, technology, internet. I kind of want to talk about all that. So tell me about, so you went to, you moved from Vegas to Branson. Mm-hmm. You were here for a while, and then suddenly you're on America's Got Talent.
Absolutely.
How did that go down? How did they contact you?
Yeah, they contacted me. They started contacting me every season. As soon as I hit town, believe it or not, shortly thereafter, I think the TV show came on. I think that's the one that Nathan Burton was on. Mm-hmm. They started contacting me, and it just didn't kind of work out until a few years later. I finally got to go to Tampa, Florida.
Right.
They had been, I think they go searching for entertainers in Branson, LA, Vegas.
They've contacted me about it. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think they came one time to Branson and did a cattle call. Everything from the Duttons and beyond, everybody went to a big convention room, and I went there as well. So that's the first time they saw me. And then anyway, it eventually evolved where I got to do the TV show, and it was really an amazing experience. Mm-hmm. It really helped me.
What was it like? Did they try to manage you? My experience, which I'll just touch on really quick, was they contacted me. They liked the look of things that I did, but then they approached me with ideas of different types of routines they wanted me to do, and it didn't fit my style, and so I backed out of it because it made me uncomfortable. But did they try to do that with you?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think they like me too well because I went to a meeting. It's a long, drawn-out story, actually. I actually originally did a TV show with them in Dallas, Texas. I think the year was 2008. I went to Dallas, Texas with a couple of illusions that they dictated. Mm-hmm. They're like, you can either do the head spin trick or the trick where the girl gets little.
Yeah,
well, you and I would know that's twister or compress, but they don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
So they dictated what tricks I did, and I called my friend Nathan Burton in Vegas, and I said, what do you suggest? You're the master of this stuff. And he says, do as much as you can do, as fast as you can do it, and basically slam it down their throat because da-da-da-da-da, they've seen all this stuff before, basically, So I told them I will go ahead and do the compress, which is little bitty. I call it little bitty. And they said, you can either go to Dallas, Texas, or you can go to Chicago. And I decided to go to Dallas because I'm a Texan, and that's my Texas routine.
Right.
In my show, I do a lot of variety, but that's a little Texas number. I'm not a huge fan of country music, but it's my little redneck bit. And I went to Texas and did that, and I went ahead and threw another illusion in the mix called the Bits and Pieces. So I did Bang and Bang like Nathan, and this is back when Pyrrhus was in it, Sharon Osbourne, and Howie.
Okay.
Long story short, I didn't make airtime. I wasted a lot of time, energy, money in rehearsing, etc.
Right.
So years later, when they kept approaching me to be on the show again, I'm like, I kind of had a bad taste because I'm like, I didn't even make airtime. And I said, so here's the deal. They said you're already gonna be on the show, guaranteed. Meet us in St. Louis for a meeting. I said, I'm not coming to impress you. They said, no, you're on. Yeah. You don't have to impress us. Just come meet with us. I said, okay. So I went to St. Louis. I don't know how much of this I should tell, but basically when I went to St. Louis, I basically told them, if you want me on the show, I'm doing the appearing motorcycle. Otherwise, lose my number.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And they said, well, we think you should do that later because that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I said, there are no guarantees in this life.
Yeah, right.
I'm doing it the first time or I'm not doing it at all. So I kind of they said, you're giving us an ultimatum. I said, kind of. Yeah. I said, if you want me on motorcycle, if you don't, no worries. I'm going back to Branson.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
I just told them. Mm-hmm. And actually, I got to do the motorcycle, which is my original effect. And honestly, I think all artists do that show. They're kind of using the show. The show's kind of using them. Right. It's like I was doing it for the exposure, obviously. I was doing it to showcase my new illusion for my Magicians Worldwide because I sell that illusion to Magicians Worldwide as well. So I figured if I get a TV commercial out of this for Magicians, it's already a win. Mm-hmm. Now, if I also do good, like a thumbs up from all judges, then it's going to be good for Branson, which it actually was. But however, I kind of told them how it was going to be, and I took the chance. And then they could have said, you're not going to be on the show. And I said, no worries, I'm going home.
That's kind of what they did to me. Gig. I didn't have to meet them in person, but we did conference calls. Right on. And so they would say, well, we watched this YouTube video that you sent. Will you watch these ones, and can you do this guy's act?
Yeah.
And I didn't want anything to do with that. And they said, well, we like this illusion that this guy has, but we don't like his look or his personality. Can you do this? Right on. And it just made me uncomfortable. So eventually I did what you did, where they said, well, you need to let us know what's going on. And I said, well, I don't need this. And they said, but think of the exposure. And I said, I have a job. Like, I don't.
There you go.
I don't need this.
It's a tough show because this was later into the show. Like, I can't remember what year, 8, 9, 10, 11, 2011, 2012-ish, I can't remember. A few years after 2008, which I did Dallas, Texas with no airtime.
Right.
They had improved the situation, but they've also seen everything.
Yeah.
And nothing impresses them.
They're jaded now.
And so they're like, hey, Taylor, we've seen trains, planes, and automobiles appear on this show. What makes us or you think that a motorcycle is going to be impressive? And then I said, well, a buddy of mine was on the show about a year ago as a special guest star. I don't know if you remember David Copperfield. And they go, yeah. And I go, he came on and made a motorcycle appear in a paper box. And they go, yeah. And I said, that's pretty impressive, isn't it? And they go, yeah. And I said, well, my thing, in my opinion's even kind of cooler because it's a new concept. It's kind of like see-through and magically different.
Yeah.
So I did it. I got lucky. I kind of got my way getting on the show. But after I got on the show, it was complete dictation from them.
Yeah.
They took me in the corner like Bon Jovi. I swear, 3,000 people on their feet, Tampa, Florida. I was in a real high moment. It was like Rocky in the movie. And the producer said, come back here with me in the hallways. And I was trying to enjoy this moment. But they're like, come back here with me. And we went back in the back hallways. And they said, what are you going to do in Vegas? And I said, I've got that all figured out. And I told them my concept of my vision, which I wanted to actually do a routine with my daughter. My daughter at the time was 4 or 5, but we were going to do a sweetheart moment where she just came out and you hear her cute little voice, and then I was going to levitate my daughter.
Right.
So it was going to show that I'm a real person. It was going to show the Danny Gans type feel. He was the star in Vegas that passed away early, but he was a great entertainer. It was going to show that moment where the guy can entertain and it's kind of sentimental. And then I was going to go to the live television with some of the bigger effects, like appearing NASCARs and some of that. But they vetoed that. They said, you cannot and will not do your daughter, so that's too small. They said, when you go to Vegas, you must go big or go home.
Yeah. But see, that hasn't worked out because the latest winners and stuff are doing the small stuff now.
So it really disappointed me that I was forced to do either an appearing horse or helicopter.
Yeah.
They asked me what effects that I could bring to the table. They wanted to know 5 options for Vegas, and they picked the one. And at the last minute, about 3 days before shoot time, they changed it to another one.
Yeah.
It puts you under an extreme amount of pressure.
I know. People think it's a talent competition. It is not a talent competition.
It's a television show.
It's a television show where they get basically unpaid entertainers. It's a very cheap
And also,
television
as you know, as an artist, I think a guy like me, even though the real world would think that we want to go to the end, as an artist, you're better off just doing a little bit and going home.
That's what all my friends say. Don't make it to the top 10.
Because then they don't own you.
Right.
But if you get to the very end, they actually own your career, a percentage of your income, etc.
Yeah, for a very, very long time.
As they say, we got the T-shirt to prove it, right? That we did it. We've got all the video footage that we play live in Branson on the screens, and Howard Stern and all that stuff. The reactions, Sharon Osbourne. One last thing, I had a gig here in town where an old producer guy says, "I don't even know if who are you?" And I said, "I'm Taylor Reed." And he goes, "Well, what makes you think we think you're even big?" And he was being kind of smart with me, and I'm like, I don't know, watch this. And I pushed play on YouTube, and it was my appearing motorcycle routine. And Sharon Osbourne goes, "It was big, it was special, it was fantastic," or whatever. And then when it was over, I turned and said, "Is that big enough for you?" And he says, "All right, you got the job." And he shook my hand.
Yeah, right.
One of those old grabby guys.
I know. I had a guy last night at the show that was a producer for Mark Wilson.
Yeah.
His old Magic Circus,
nice.
Or whatever it was called. And same type of deal.
Yeah.
So, but you never know. Times have changed.
Yeah.
And reality shows have changed a lot, but the internet is changing magic, I think, a lot. And not in a good way, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll talk about that real quick here when we come back. I'm Christopher James with Taylor Reed here in Branson, Missouri, and we'll be right back. Thank you for supporting All Things Branson. Be sure to subscribe and stay in touch on Facebook and Twitter. Check back at allthingsbranson.com for the latest news about Branson, Missouri.